Back in Christmas 2019, I received Fire Emblem 3 Houses as a Christmas gift. Since I wanted to get into more RPGs after I beaten Persona 5 and consider it one of my favorite RPGs out there. A few years later, I consider it to be one of the best Switch games on the market after 2 playthroughs. The tactical combat is well put together and newcomers will find this simple enough to understand it. The characters are fun and have very good personalities to help make them stand out. And overall, it can become a personal adventure that helps make the experience more unique. Back in February 2022, in a Nintendo Direct, they announced that a Warriors game based off 3 Houses is coming, and I was happy about it and ended up getting it as a birthday gift that year. The game was released in June 2022 with respectful reviews. Throughout my first playthrough, I have some positive things to say about this game, but also some things that bother me that describe my overall experience with the game. This is the myth, the legend, Squidward 5, and this is my gaming essay on Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Our story begins with the character selection screen. This time you have a new protagonist exclusive for this game. This is Cheese, S-H-E-Z. And you would choose from the male or female versions. In this playthrough, I decided to do a female, and Byleth from 3 Houses is the main bad guy, so I decided to make him male for this game. The story this time is that you're a mercenary for the Berlin's mercenary, who is up against Geralt's mercenaries, and over time you would be a part of one of 3 Houses, the same 3 Houses from the original game. For me, I choose Black Eagles for this route. It's called Scarlet Blaze. And for the rest of the story, it's just you and the Eagles going to the war with not only the 2 other houses, which are the Golden Deer and the Blue Lions, but also the Church of Saros and those who sliver in the dark. Overall, I wasn't too interested in this story this time, due to it feeling like, for the most part, not much was going on. Yes, things happened, but I didn't really thought the story wasn't that engaging, but mostly just talking about the strategy plans for what to do next. You also see what the other groups are doing, which I think helps build the lore of this alternate universe for the 3 Houses. The protagonist, which is Cheese, can actually speak in full sentences, which really helps build the relationship between the other characters than just dialogue choices. Byleth also speaks, but I think his character is just the same personally. The characters this time are mostly just there. Monica is now the good girl here, and the rest of the house is here as well. But besides Berdonetta and Mariana, everyone else feels like they didn't really get as much development. Yes, each had their own personalities and interests. You can also have support conversations in which they help give development, but I mostly just skipped through these except for a few times, and that was it. The game doesn't really give you an incentive to really know these characters, since they just really say one-liners here and there, along with how in the battles they get really annoying sometimes. As a story, it has very little to go for, while also having mostly characters that don't really do much, and I'll also mention that the writing here is just there and doesn't really do much, but sometimes say fancy stuff because it takes place in the 1100s. So yeah, narrative-wise, it's a lackluster experience, but I understand that I heard that it was originally just going to be another Fire Emblem Warriors 2. The gameplay has a ton for it, even if it's just a warrior game. On paper, it looks standard with you trying to beat multiple enemies at once, along with taking control of these strongholds with an occasional boss fight. But what makes the game stand out is the way of handling the combat to be engaging, and the game gives you many options to improve character stats of your characters. What makes the core gameplay its own is with its special attacks that it feels something like out of Fire Emblem 3 Houses. For example, Ignat's special attack has a lot of these colors to represent painting, which if you pay attention to him and his character in 3 Houses, you'll get why it's here. There are several different classes you can just choose, but mostly just weapons and magic shit. You would upgrade them in the training grounds, in which you can change their classes with these globes that will indicate the level. When going to fight in these open areas, you can have 4 different characters to play with, or 8 if it's the final stage of the chapter. Half you can play with, the others can be for backup. The type of objections you'll be doing is what I said in the beginning of this segment, along with protecting people, along with taking stuff down and other shit. These battles take place in these maps that will contain a few of these missions, the chapters, main battle, and materials, which I'll explain these purposes soon. And you'll also have character-specific missions as well. If you're not battling, you'll be in this mini-town with many different options to improve character stats. The materials I just mentioned are for upgrading facilities, which will involve the skill trees that will improve the overall activity with the characters. You will find them in these little houses or in this collecting area, in which you can use basic shit like stones to give you certain ones for upgrading. A few facilities you'll be using here include the standard shops for items and blacksmith to upgrade weapons. The training area I mentioned has other things as well, as like increasing the unit's level or just putting them with another character to train to increase stats, which you will be using these orange activity points. And the blue ones can be used for cooking or charity work, in which you could choose 2 characters to help build bonds with. You can recruit characters in battles with the battle suggestion thing before the main chapter battle starts, and you get to ride horses with the character to help increase their bonds. And that's not even all of it. The game itself has a ton of content and things to help your characters become improved for the battles, which I think is a major plus in my book. It helps give variety to the game, even if it's something minor as improving character stats. But this is where my positive things end here. Overall, the game can drag with its length, which it took me around 34 hours to beat, but I feel like it took way too long, and that really affected my experience, along with the lackluster narrative for the most part. I just feel that I've been playing a game that I don't really feel engaged with all that much, and that really took a toll on me when getting through the game. But to end this long segment, this game has a variety of different things to do to help increase character stats, and the combat tries to be unique with its own flair of Fire Emblem Three Houses combat specialties. But the game can feel like a drag sometimes to get through, and that somewhat affected the overall experience to some extent. I'm just gonna do bullet notes for the performance since it's gonna be a little bit more easier for me to say. Graphically, it looks acceptable. The UI and graphic design mesh well together and good improvements over the 3 houses. Cutscenes feel all the same with just characters talking to each other. Frame rates drop every now and then, but it's a Warriors game on a Switch, so what are you expecting? And the soundtrack has some good remixes and good scores, and the voice acting is nice, even if certain characters repeat the several things over and over again. And that's all I'm gonna say about this. While this game has several good moments, and I do think a lot of Fire Emblem Three Houses fans and gamers will like this game, I find it to be very unnecessary. The story and characters are lackluster, and there to give story and reason to your actions, minus a few characters here and there. While the combat is the same old Warriors game, it's stuff from the 3 houses that help make it its own thing. Not to mention the amount of content that is available to you to help improve your characters, and sometimes it just drags and makes the experience less and less fun over time, and the presentation is just there with a few improvements here and there. You will like this game, but it has several flaws. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. This is a good game, but could have been a much better.